remember one day, actually, my daughter came to set, and she and Anton immediately hit it off and had this amazing day. They wrote little plays together, and they were drawing pictures, and they developed this little language that they were talking with each other, and it was really lovely. It was funny, because Anton, again, I always say about his youth, because he seemed very youthful to me. It was like seeing my daughter with one of her friends, you know? Months and months after we finished shooting, my daughter said, Dad. I said, yeah, what do you want? She said, can I speak to Anton? And I was like, yeah, okay. So we texted Anton, and they had a little text exchange. But the point is, I just remember thinking how sweet it was that she'd kind of just sort of thought of him.
Filming, taping by Victor Yelchin. Costumes by Anton Yelchin and Irina Yelchin. Story writer Anton Yelchin. And here it goes. Cut. Cut.
To begin with, I just wanted to ask you a fun question. I don't know did you go to the movies as a kid? And if you did, were there any films or actors that were particular favorites or influences for you?
Well, as a kid, when I went to the movies, Arnold Schwarzenegger is probably the biggest influence on me. I know when I was like 11 and 12, my parents started showing me, because I started working. And they were like, you know, if you want to do this, we're going to start showing you good movies just so you don't think Space Jam is
the peak.
Is the peak of American cinema. So they showed me a film shot by the same DP, actually, named Michael Chapman, who did Taxi Driver. And I loved it. It was like the first thing I consciously said to my folks, like, I want to do this. I want to make movies.
The actor Anton Yelchin is with me. You're in Vancouver, and you are shooting yet again something.
Yeah.
How are you in school? Good in school?
Good. All A's except in gym.
In gym?
Yeah.
You're a child after my own heart, I have to say. But your parents are athletes.
Yeah, so I think that's enough in our family.
Yeah.
So I was very happy. I was extremely happy that I have a baby.
Irina Karina and Victor Yelchin bring that music with them from the Soviet Union. That is the theme song from a Russian movie.
Irina already was pregnant, and I saw the situation in Soviet Union was really scary.
All what we earned and what we had for all our life in Russia, we got $8,000. But it doesn't matter how much, we didn't need it. We had Ntosha.
I will never forget this day, September 13, 1989. I was raised like, men don't cry. And actually I didn't. But this time when I could take Anton in my hand and tied it to my chest, I couldn't keep the tears. It was an unbelievable feeling that I'm staying on American soil with my baby in my hand. And this moment with me will be like all my life. That's it.
It is fascinating to me how you arrived in this country. So for those who don't know the story, tell me about your mom and dad and how you made your way to the US of A.
And came to this country not knowing a word of English and just started to work.
Everyone knows him as, you know, like this infinitely creative person, and, you know, we were just fucking silly together. We would go running around his neighborhood. You know, he'd always be talking about different things that he was reading and different music that we were into. I don't think we watched a full Fellini film together, but we definitely watched clips. One of the better memories that we had was when he brought out the video camera. On one level, it was just two kids just being silly, having a lot of fun. But on another level, there was just something that was kind of serendipitous, but it was also just Anton.
I was very shy, but very privately animated.
What do you want me to show you? An action.
Sort of a closer family friend of ours suggested they take me to an acting class called Chris Carr's Actors Workshop. He had like a class for little kids, and it was like all like 8-year-olds, 9-year-olds.
He would look down his feet for the first 6 months, I would say. He wouldn't look up. He'd get very scared. And all we had to do was instill self-imagination, self-esteem for the first 6 months. And then a light bulb went out.
73 years ago, there once lived a man, and his name was Mr. Picanius. He was the greatest artist ever. He painted Picasso sometimes, even could be like him.
We did a lot of improv. Like, we would do things like where he would give us an assignment to come home and make something. And I actually enjoyed those moments more than I did where we had to learn scenes. And because at the time, scenes were just lines to me. They weren't really characters. Whereas these things were, I could just create stuff, kind of like I did at home.
Полицейский мне говорит, что его что-то упало, у него какое-то да.
He spoke Russian and English. Anton was like a sponge. Whatever you told him, he could remember like forever.
Chris Carr said to me, he doesn't need class. You know what, he truly needs to go for auditions. And I said, what kind of auditions? I'm working full time, I can't do it. And he said, do you have an agent? I said, no, and we don't want any agent. We're just here for fun. Then he said, it's an audition without no agents, just go. And it was Chuck E. Cheese.
And to be, and not to be.
So your audition for Chuck E. Cheese, you did an imitation of Arnold?
Arnold. A bit,
Arnold,
but it's gotten worse.
Oh, yeah. Oh, well, that's okay.
And then they asked us to dance.
Most guys, you know, that are like 10, 11, and 12, you say to them, okay, dance. They want to run away.
I always dance with my mom at parties and in between my dad dancing with my mom because my parents are ice skaters. So my mom always wants me to dance with her, so I don't say no. So I always dance with my mom.
First time we heard about it, when we went to the doctor, just wondering why Anton has, why it's so hard for him to fight simple cold, why it's taking him so long to get over the cough and things. And the doctor wasn't sure about it, but he said we need to run tests for cystic fibrosis. Finally, we were called in, and the doctor said the results are positive. Anton has cystic fibrosis.
Imagine being born with chronic illness and your parents being told that you're not going to live beyond a certain age without a significant amount of therapies and significant amount of medications to modify how their body functions to maintain their activity. That's a huge burden to bear.
The doctors were saying the symptoms of this disease are shortness of breath, wheezing, low energy. He's going to start coughing more.
One of the hardest things with CF is they don't look sick, but they're battling all the time because the #1 symptom is their breath, which we all in this room take for granted. They all handle it differently. You know, I'd say, no, this is more hopeful than it used to be. So really live with hope as your main driver.
We came home and we couldn't sleep, and we felt so guilty that we are healthy. And our son has this horrible disease.
And always
Eat my greens.
I like greens.
Good.
Me
And
too.
never.
Thank you.
But he was getting stronger and stronger.
I did that episode of ER. It was a very heavy episode, and it was the first time I had to cry for anything. And I just wept and wept and wept, and I couldn't stop crying after they cut. And it was weirdly cathartic and kind of awesome, but very painful at the same time. Like, my mom was really freaked out.
We and the other doctors worked really hard to help your parents, but their injuries were very, very serious. And despite everything we tried to do, we were not able to save them.
But I know they would be so relieved to know that you're both okay.
I want to see them.
I mean, I don't think any parent, I don't know what kind of parent want to sit there and see their kid weep. And it was kind of off-putting to her, but there's something happened where I realized that it was very much something that I had enjoyed, that intensity.
When Anton was 8 years old, because I know exactly when I was very sick, and he would come, and every day, "Dear mommy, I love you. I wish for you to feel million, trillion, billion times better tomorrow. Dear mommy, I love you so very much. I adore you. I wish for you to feel billion, trillion times better tomorrow." And that was like 20. Those type of cards, he would just slip under the door or kiss me and do that. And then when I got good already, I was already went to work, he would just write, "Dear mommy, I love you. Love, Antosha. Dear mommy, I love you. Love, Antosha." Just like this. This is like, that's a treasure. It's no gifts better than those.
I'm very fortunate because my mom, she was teaching all the time. She still choreographs, but she would literally, like, in her skating suit, take me to auditions after work, and she just believed that this is what I loved. So I owe her everything, really, just for believing in me,
What is a man if his chief good and market of his time be but to sleep and feed? But whether it be bestial oblivion or some craven scruple of thinking too precisely on the event, a thought which quartered hath but 1 part reason and ever 3 parts coward.
After like 6 or 7 commercials, I kind of said to my mom that it wasn't what I expected, and she was like, "It's fine if you don't want to do this. We can figure out what else there is to do, like we can see what the next step is, or if you don't like it, that's cool too. You don't have to do that. You just go back to school." And I got an agent, and I worked on my first movie, A Man As Well See Water, and I realized that that was what I really wanted to do.
So I got him this old guitar, went to 5 lessons, stopped them, said, "Mamulia, it's wasting of time. He's not teaching me. Let's get the book, how to play guitar." And he started playing guitar so good.
This blues for you, Mom. Mommy, I love you so, Mommy. Oh, Mommy, I love you a lot. So beautiful, Mom. So beautiful, Mom.
I never met anyone quite like him in the sense that there were these sort of classic childlike qualities about him and very old qualities, and they just coexisted. That is, he had a curiosity that with most people degrades over time.
Love you, baby. Yeah.
But not with him.
She sure is big.
I knew you'd like it. All kids like big things. There must be some kind of rule.
What's she holding?
Well, it's a torch to light the way in for the ships going into the harbor.
I met him when he was a little kid on a movie called Delivering Milo, and I thought I was a little kid, but he was littler. He was so interesting. I would have never guessed he would become a professional, although he was a professional, if I had just seen that. Because he didn't have kind of like a false precociousness, which I find in a lot of kid actors. They're good at pretending to be adults. He wasn't doing that. He was I don't want to take away from what he did by calling him a natural, but he did have an ability to just jump into something. And it didn't seem hard. Maybe it was hard.
I don't even remember what I did in terms of working on it. I probably just learned my lines. But the biggest thing that was I think quite significant and kind of affected me profoundly was doing the film Hearts in Atlantis with Anthony Hopkins and Scott Hicks directing, and being around the late Piotr Sobocinski, who was an extraordinary DP, and seeing them work and being influenced by them was tremendous.
You remember that first time we were in that room in Keswick, when Anton came in and sat down and started reading with you?
You prepped me a little about Anton. You said, but we think this boy is really terrific. Then in walked this young kid, and then when he did the reading, I thought he was just an extraordinary boy. He had such poise without being obnoxious or overbearing. I thought he was just wonderful, wonderful kid.
Go on, Ted. I mean, you can't stop. Ted, I gotta know what happened.
I never ever saw a girl as special as Carol Gerber.
There's millions.
Oh, yeah? Have you kissed her yet?
Yuck.
Well, you will, I promise you.
Stay away.
You will, and it will be the kiss by which all others in your life will be judged.
Dear Journal, today I have my first kiss. This was my first kiss with Mika. It was okay. I kind of liked it. It was very nice. And I did it twice. I hope it happens many more times.
I said, Anton, what you've got to do is wait for the good scripts, you know, the thing that's going to launch you to the next step. And he said to me, no, I want to do everything. I said, no, you can't do everything, because there's a lot of junk out there. You don't want to be part of it. No, I want to do everything. I don't care. I want to act.
We would sit for hours, and he would show me old movies, you know, old film noirs and old French movies and old Japanese movies. And, you know, he was a true student of film.
Double Indemnity, 1944, Billy Wilder. A great, nasty picture. Uses the self-conscious device of voiceover and flashback. Straight Shooting, 1917, John Ford. A great, moving picture. Even though it's Ford's first feature, already displays his themes and much of the spectacular use of mise-en-scene.
He said that if I will ever direct, I have to have very good knowledge, then I can use references in my work. So he started like in the very beginning, even with like silent movies first.
I remember once he invited me to a movie. It was the Big Heat with Lee Marvin. After the movie, I was like, that was amazing! That was amazing! And he was like, I'm glad you enjoyed it. He had, of course, seen it multiple times.
I mean, I always love movies. I love being on set. I love meeting people. I love working on the scenes. But the level of work that I put in and the appreciation I had for the craft of filmmaking is completely different now. I'd like you to shuffle this, please.
All right.
And efficiently and any way possible.
Okay, fine. So I'll shuffle.
Okay, and this is your card.
Wow.
Yeah.
How'd you do that?
I'm sorry, I can't tell you. Sorry.
Come on, just do it. How'd you do the trick?
No, magicians don't tell people how they do their tricks.
Yeah, well, you're not really a magician.
Oh, yeah, I am.
Well, because you do one trick, that makes you a magician?
Did I trick you? Curb is such a different kind of experience. I mean, Curb, you go on the audition and you pick a scenario out of a hat, and then you go in the room, and there's like 10 execs there and Larry David, and you just improvise a scene with Larry David. And I basically did it, and then when I got it, they're like, what you said in the audition, what you did in the audition, that's what the scene's gonna be.
Are you gonna tell me this trick?
No.
Magicians don't reveal their
Fine,
secrets.
I gotta go.
You guys are a lot alike.
Yeah, except he's not a magician.
It was 2004 when I first met Anton. I had seen a lot of kids for something I had done right before that. So when David Duchovny was looking and he had someone in mind, and it was like, you just have to meet this child. And they met Anton. I think it's the only kid I brought to him.
I don't want you to take any shit off your dad, okay? And listen, if Simone...
Do good things, Tommy. Promise me you do good things.
I promise. The thrill of making movies and being able to make movies and studying characters and, you know, getting to work with people that you respect and admire, that it's kind of an easy choice. At least for me, you know, that's how I think about things.
He was an absolute one of a kind. With Anton, you just know they broke the mold. There was nothing about him that wasn't wonderful. I remember he was always there, always on the set watching me, and then after a take, he'd come over and ask me questions about it, or when we did a scene afterwards, he didn't go rolling off into his trailer. He wanted it always to be of a piece.
Presenting the Breakthrough Award tonight is his House of D director. Give it up for David Duchovny.
I learned about integrity, artistic integrity, about artistic morality, if that can be said, about honesty. And the only thing that I can fault him for is that, you know, when he worked with Robin Williams, he would always call him Mr. Williams, and he called me David. But Anton, the luckiest thing and the best thing I ever did was put you in my movie. Come here and get this.
Thank you, Mr. Duchovny. It's really great to be here. I'm not really good at taking compliments, so I'll try to make this as quick as possible. More than anything, my parents, who are always like, you know, symbols of strength and for me, and have always shown me a lot of love and kindness since I was tiny. You know, thank you.
Dear Mamula, you are my best friend, the closest person to me in the world, and the most amazing woman that I know. Your soul, through your beautiful eyes, shines. It does not matter whether you are laughing or yelling, regardless of whether I'm smart enough to show it. I always, always, always have so much respect for who you are. For how strong, smart, wonderful, talented, interesting, intelligent, and just how, your least favorite word, cool you are. Thank you for every hug, kiss, smile, and every bowl of soup. You are an extraordinary, charming woman, and you have an equally extraordinary husband, and a son that is your baby, as long as he lives. Love, Antosha.
I remember I was like a little intimidated by Irina, just a little bit. We were maybe like 11 or 12, and we'd be looking at something on the internet, something inappropriate or whatever, and then, you know, we'd hear from downstairs like, Antosha! And he'd yell back, "Что?" You know, like, just like, what? You know, that's when our hormones just started kicking in. So we were just totally girl crazy, you know?
I was 14 when I worked with him, but then, yeah, he and I were really good friends for like 2 years. And then he kind of like broke my heart. I was so kind of baffled by how good he was in working with him. And then subsequently just like couldn't be around him because it just like made me like so nervous. But I literally think about like why I like some of the shit that I like. In that very brief period of time at like 14, 15, 16, he kind of like shaped me in this way. And so yeah, full disclosure, fully. It's just like weird to talk about it with anyone because it was like this kind of like insulated little thing. And yeah.
I missed you so much.
Watch it, my ribs still hurt.
Start to kiss me?
No, of course not.
He intimidated me because he's so voracious. And I like wanted to keep up with that and wanted to listen to all the music that he fucking listened to. And I like wanted to kind of absorb all of his interests and all of his stuff. So yeah, there was like that. And he asked me once what my favorite book was, and I didn't really have one at the time. I was so horrified. I think it probably kickstarted my own like I wanted to be better, smart.
I think On the Road is really a novel about the savage passage of time and how to approach that passage and the ultimately sad way it keeps going and leaves us all behind in its wake. Even Dean Moriarty, who always exists in the present, gone Dean Moriarty, who digs the world continually and loves every bit of it and moves on.
He had to do the scene in Alpha Dog when he is getting drunk. And he says, Mamula, you know, I'm worried about this thing. I said, why? Well, I've never been drunk. So what you saying, that you need to be drunk to play a drunk person? He said, yeah. And I said, well, you know, baby, if you want to kill somebody in the movie, so you have to go and kill somebody else? So he said, okay, well, kind of agreed.
You know that we have homework parties? What? Homework parties with little hats.
No.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
for birthdays.
Yeah. Another thing. I'll be sleeping, right? And she'll wake me up by looking at me. Like, I'll open my eyes, and she'll be right there looking at me like... You're lucky, you know that. Yeah, I know.
Before he started the next movie or next job, he was going for checkup. But the doctors was telling us that the problems with cystic fibrosis coming with the age.
He was a list man. He always had a list on him. He was like, Mary, I'm so glad you're here. I have so many things I want to talk to you about. So we would just like get into these great conversations about, you know, how he could do things and still live his life.
Anton probably felt himself a little bit like a lone soul, even like we tried to give him as much love as we could.
Numerous times a day, he'd have to be hooked up to a breathing machine that he'd, would have to literally just pounce against his lungs and cough up mucus, and then have to go outside and put on a smile, and through that also wanted to keep that inside and not tell anyone.
A call time's usually bright and early. He had to do his breathing exercise like 2 hours before just to get himself prepared to start the day. Nobody knew that but Anton. Nobody knew that. People are finding out right now, actually. This is insane.
I had arranged to meet with Anton. I think Irina drove him over and dropped him off, and we sat down. And I said, so, why do you want to play Charlie Bartlett? What is it you like about the character of the movie? And the first thing he said is, I like how honest he is and how he wants to do things for his friends. He wants to take care of people.
Marlon, I love you, dude. Guys, give me it.
I have a small growth in one of the ventricles of my brain. To date, I've had 4 brain surgeries. Anton was one of the very, very few people that knew that about me. He would always be very concerned. He knew instantly when things weren't right. Because of him and because of our friendship, that I was able to be a bit more accepting of the circumstances I was in.
If you can explain what you're doing, or better yet, why you're doing it, that'd be a good start.
Look, I'm helping these kids, okay? Nobody else is listening to them.
Charlie could be the loneliest of people, but he chooses not to be. It's the intelligence of his decisions, and as a result, his responsibilities and the consequence of these that shape his character.
He was always kind of observing people and their behavior, and he took that into his work a lot too, because he'd be able to take different characters, and he loved stories. He loved human stories.
Charlie's an optimist. People are depending on him.
He had so much love for the people that were close to him in his life. I lost my dad when I was 13, and he was like there for me, you know?
Funny thing is, like, I would use my disease to, like, you know, to help me out occasionally, like to bail me out of things. And this guy was so selfless that he, like, you know, was able to keep such a serious thing secret.
Anton was great at what he did, but he was kind of worried that because of his condition, he maybe wouldn't be able to work.
Now, you're not going to get away from this interview without my asking you about Star Trek. And I'm sorry, I apologize right now. It's part of the deal. You're in the new Star Trek movie directed by J.J. Abrams, and the whole world is curious about it, and that includes me. So you're playing the young Chekhov?
Right, Pavel Chekhov, right.
On the first Star Trek, we said we wanted to clone little Antons and give them away as wrap gifts. Just tiny pet Antons that
I think it was just the kind of joy and the kind of happiness and optimism he sort of encapsulates. And of course, you know, the fun of playing around with that great accent.
The character of Chekhov in Star Trek speaks a kind of Russian that doesn't really exist.
They're creating a singularity that will consume the planet.
And it was actually really hard for Anton at the beginning to speak Russian badly.
He could not speak in English with Russian accent. He went to my father, and I said, well, ask JJ, is my accent is good? And he said, Mom, no. When he was business, he was saying, Mom, your accent is not good for that. I need grandpa accent.
Excuse me.
Yes,
Sorry,
Mr.
sir.
Chekhov, what is it?
Based on the Narada scores from Vulcan.
I remember being with him on set and doing a classic J.J. Abrams sort of 19-hour day. And he looked so tired. I remember he was trying to say this very complicated speech about dropping out of warp and hiding behind Saturn. And his little eyes were so sort of red. He never looked younger to me than on that day.
If we adjust our shield frequencies, we should not be detected.
Wait a minute, kid. How old are you?
17, sir.
I can certainly say for the group of people that got to work with him, he might have been the youngest person on camera, but he was, I think, the person that sort of quietly, without even realizing it, I think, you know, challenging all of us to be as good as he was.
It's an interesting line to follow because you pick and choose and you see what you can bring that's your own. And then I met with Walter Koenig and we had this talk and he said, you know, it looks like you guys are being really smart about this and doing your own thing. And yet, you know, I see traces of myself in what you're doing. And it was really great for me to hear that because I was so nervous about meeting him. And he seemed so pleased.
Here we are, we're all coming together to revamp this old franchise that had moved people for so long. And Anton was the youngest one in the cast. And his angle about like, oh, we have to do this right, and if not, people will be unhappy. We're talking about peace, it was about friendship, it was about ending war. And I remember thinking, my God, this kid is so deep. I gotta get myself in shape.
I play guitar and Anton played incredible guitar, so, you know, we'd inevitably kind of bring our guitars to the set and tool around, and Anton and all of his frustrating humility. He never wanted to pat himself on the back, it seemed like. He'd say, well, I don't really know, you know, how to play all that much, and then he'd like whip out some like Mississippi John Hurt or something that was just like, oh, I've just been playing this for a little bit.
He really knew what he was talking about, no matter what it was, you know, and there was some real beauty in that.
We went back to some, you know, shooting on set, and then going back to the trailers, and I said, you want to come in and jam? He's like, no, I gotta go back to
It turns out he's translating this Russian novel that's like this big, a Russian philosophy tract. He's like making notes on this thing and translating it at the same time. He's, mind you, 17 years old.
It was so funny. He didn't consider himself a musician, and he didn't consider himself a singer. And he was a damn great musician, but he was a little bit, I think, self-conscious. He always wanted to be the best at what he did.
From Sarine to Dave, I'm Anton.
Yeah.
All right.
He would have been intimidating, but he didn't wield his power that way. He brought everyone in and shared everything that he learned and that he was interested in.
You know, big movies, they're just a very different beast. There's just, it's very different. I think for me, your job, at least the way I approach it, is essentially the same. Like, you try to find whatever you want to create and how to be creative with as much honesty as you can, because there will be, you know, self-aware films that maybe call for a different form of performance.
Aside from all the things he was reading for work to studying old movies, he started playing with us regularly whenever he was in town. I mean, the guy, he loved expressing himself, but he always felt like he needed to work harder.
We would play a midnight show at the Viper Room on Sundays, and it would be from like 11 to 1 a.m. And we wouldn't necessarily invite anybody, we just did it. It was just another creative outlet that he could do.
I'm gonna have to jump up and perform some tricks in a couple hours, but can barely keep my head on, my legs from twitching and my head from cramping.
It always amazed me how he was able to find time to take care of his own health. He would say, "It's what I love, and I'm not gonna let CF stop me from doing what I love."
He added tons of exercises himself, and I was so happy when he wants to build muscles and be stronger than he was.
I mean, his abs, they almost clanked. It was like a conquistador's suit of armor under there.
And then he'd take his shirt off, and he was like this jacked dude. And you're like, what? Where's that been? And he's like, just from coughing so much. And I was like, oh, probably.
Have you completely lost your mind?
Well, I know it seems a bit...
I'm not talking to you, nut job. I'm talking to Mom. It takes you years to get him out of here, and you let him come back the next night with a talking hamster?
He did a lot of thinking and a lot of writing, and sometimes his thinking got in his way, you know? It's almost like his brain was too big and he couldn't contain all of his ideas. That excitement, that kind of youth and all of that was really what led me to believe that someday he would have to express it some other way besides acting, because he really was an intellectual, but I think that he really loved the play of the mind. And he had to put some of that to bed in order to be an actor.
Don't go too far to the left of the box, this way.
Right,
Go
just
right.
stay where the box
I
is.
tend to be interested by either the philosophy behind the filmmaking, the philosophy of the film itself, who the director is.
We was afraid we was going to have to start without you.
But also, sometimes you'll read something and you go, well, I don't know how I feel about this as a whole, but I love this character. I think this might make something interesting.
I got to know Anton where he was kind of on his own for the first time, but he was still really attached to his parents, really attached to his mother.
We were just hanging out. We didn't talk about our parents. And then his mom was coming into town, and he was so excited. And I was like, are you seriously excited your mom is coming? I start getting like a pre-migraine when my mother's coming into town. I love her, but
I need you to write me something.
You're actually 22.
I am, yeah.
So that's actually kind of shocking, you know, because you've done so, I mean, we're talking about this year, but really the last number of years.
Yeah.
You've done so much.
We were known as the lurkers because we'd always be in these places that we really shouldn't have been, you know? He was genuinely interested in all types of people and wanted to know their stories.
There's the Anton that looks like a little kid and was perpetually baby-faced. And that's the thing, too. Girls loved Anton. Women loved Anton. I mean, and Anton loved women, but maybe it's that close connection with Irina.
Every time I knock, you know I knock a little harder till my face starts looking like a martyr's.
It was very difficult to even be with him when you were trying to get girls because the second they saw him, it was game over. My girl was gone instantly. And he was a nice guy, though. You know, he was always the guy that would be like, oh, no, like, Luke, no, come, like, join with us, you know? Like, you know, always like, no, it's cool. Like, I lost out again. It's cool, you know?
We met at Subway, and we sat for like 3 hours just talking. Kind of went from 0 to 100 and stayed there for a long time.
Sophie was only serious girlfriend, nicest girl, and they were young, and she was not patient enough. And for him, films was priority.
Very serious for both of us, and pretty much broke up because we were just too young, unfortunately.
He hit me up after he had his heart broken and was like, hey, can we like talk? I just kind of figured out like what that actually feels like, and I'm so sorry. And I was like, dude, it's fine. Like like literally we were tiny children. But for someone to call someone and be like, hey, that thing that you went through, I had no idea, but now I do, and I'm so sorry. I was like, dude, it's fine. Like,
I don't think you can step into the light unless you fully explore your own shadow, and it was such a part of him. You know, that willingness, that courage to go into the darker parts of himself and shine light on it, not only for himself, but for other people. He knew himself so well, and there was always just a recognition of his own vulnerability and his own fragility.
I'm furious with myself. And it could have been so good, so sweet.
How's that feel?
I remember talking to Irina about how frustrated he would be with his career, and that was always baffling to me because of how respected he was. And, you know, I don't know that he ever knew that, honestly. I don't think he ever let himself know that or believe that.
The institutional discourses of Hollywood are a threat to a human being's identity and to their sense of love for their craft and what they do.
This is exciting, man. This is good footage.
It is what it is.
It's good footage, man.
It's better than no footage.
I wonder how many hits this is going to get. Possibly 1,000 hits.
There you go.
Malone Yelchin.
I'll take it.
Down the street. Very exciting.
Well, for certain people, it's more exciting than you'll ever know.
It is such a hyper-real world, and it's so filled with so many sort of distractions. It's like the Roman Empire, you know? It's like you can kind of have everything and do anything, and I think if you make that your life, it can be very easily confusing. And that's what you're focused on, and that's what you're thinking about. You're bound to have a lot of kind of disappointment and confusion. That's why I think getting a small group of people that really care together to make a movie is really kind of the future for independent cinema.
He was the first person I cast, and I mean, it was a very somewhat autobiographical experience, so there was a lot of just trying to find a kindred spirit, someone who'd been through some of the experiences I'd been through and understood that.
I've read in another interview that you've done that you also, in some ways, had gone through a similar experience in your own life with the forced separation in a way. Is that true?
I think inevitably with my job, every one of these relationships becomes long distance because you leave for 4 months at a time. So certain things you can really relate to and understand, like that last night feeling, the I'm not going to see you for 4 months feeling, I haven't seen you in a long time, how do I take this moment feeling.
It was really like just a bunch of friends kind of coming together. And that was where you can really really understand his talent on a deeper level, because he led that movie, and it was all complete improv.
Did you very simple question?
We were doing such a heavy piece of material, but when the camera stopped rolling, it was just voices and dialects and goofy characters went in 100% together, and they were such an incredible partnership in that because there were no boundaries to how we could explore that dynamic.
I was nervous after like crazy because it's such a liberating experience to then go onto a studio film. But Craig Gillespie on Fright Night is also a director that loves improv, and the idea of someone suffering, doing something that is unfair to people that they really care about is something that sort of transcends that format as a kind of human experience.
I told him he has to be always on alert. This illness in there, and you have to be careful. Just because he was not a Superman, he wants to do something, and sometimes he did, which he shouldn't.
We're doing this 9-day sequence of vampires on fire. And I'm like, let me ask the stunt guys, and I'm like, is it safe for Anton to be on fire? And they're like, yeah, it's safe. And I'm like, okay. Suddenly the studio calls, what the hell are you guys doing? Burning a lead actor.
Because of what he went through his whole life with his disease, it's why he wanted to get a lot done. He didn't want to let it take him down, you know? Like he would talk about it with me like there was this beast inside of him, you know?
Excuse me. I finished 2 films over the summer, and I'm starting work on another film, and then there might be another, an improvised film.
He was always going further than the rest of us. What he was thinking about, what he was looking at, what he was interested in, what was the next project. He had this immigrant mentality to a point that I think that he needed to work rather than sit still in the confidence of his talent. I don't think he gave himself much of a break.
He'd go to very risky projects, and then he'd do something that was more like a job. He was so intense about his quest to really find situations that would challenge him. He's very practical, he was very pragmatic about career stuff, but at the same time, he deeply felt a duty to educate himself and to challenge himself.
Anton and I became friends. We would probably spend 3, 4, 5 hours together talking about life. He was an old soul, you know, and I, you know, don't talk in terms of old souls and stuff like that. But I found myself treating him as a contemporary. I remember he had no desire to be like the flavor of the month. He'd say,
you don't often work with an actor who you so immediately take to. The act of making the movie, which is a pretty minor movie in his canon. And Anton, if he wasn't working, he'd come in anyway. I mean, he was part of the creative package.
So, what happens now?
Room 2117, 5 o'clock.
So did you see yourself as becoming the thinking woman's sex symbol?
You know, it's funny that you should say that. I am constantly surprised by how insane filmmaking is. Like 100 whatever people have gotten together to try to get one shot perfectly, and there's a real madness and beauty to that madness that I love. I find it completely intoxicating, and I truly enjoyed working on this one. I truly enjoyed working on this film, 5 to 7.
It's startling in a way. There's something angelic about him and pure about him and open and obviously intelligent. Very rare, really.
I think as an actor, it's sort of a mixture of the philosophical awareness and the emotion. I mean, I'm still not very confident that I'm good enough, you know? I don't know that I'll ever be confident in that.
You're at the ground floor of a growing business. Your reward is a career.
The angel and the devil Secretly they get along. Sitting up there with me in the middle, from dusk till dawn. I get
Dear Mamula and Papula, every day in Tokyo, I think about how terrifying it was for you to come to a country where you did not speak a word of the language with the intention of starting a new life. How frightening it was in building a home for yourselves and your child. And I think about how you did it so that I could have a better life, despite what the sacrifice might mean to you. I always worry that I somehow can't express my appreciation, so I try to write these notes expressing that I do think about and appreciate and respect and thank God for you and everything that you have given me. As I write this, I see the trips to Toys R Us, to the zoo, I see the video cameras, and all the attention that I got. I wish I could take all of these things and put them together and give them back to you with all the love that you gave me. I love you so much, and I hope you know this. I wish for you to be happy and healthy for another million, billion, trillion years. I wish for us to be able to celebrate all together for all of those happy and healthy years.
I'm so grateful, потому что я знаю, сколько ты... А не знаю, мам, я тебя так люблю, любимый. Знаешь, что ты...
I love you. Love, Antosha.
Everybody was away from their families, so something very beautiful happened where we all just sort of came together.
Look up. He surprised me every time he spoke about something. I thought, you know, what a bright, intelligent human being.
Anton and me and Sophia every weekend would be out on the sailboat in the harbor in Vancouver.
Anton was the only one with his hoodie and his sort of moon boots wearing on the boat, and there was no way the water would touch him. He was so particular and so interesting.
I have this great picture of me on the boat. I'm falling asleep on Anton's lap. And Anton's with his like sweatshirt, and I can tell he's like, God damn, I've probably been asleep for like an hour on his lap, but he doesn't want to move me. It's really cute. I got that one.
There is this thing, you pretend to be a family over a number of years, and at some point you kind of are.
Really did not. He looked skinnier than usual. And he was coughing a lot more. Just we were all worried about him. He was scared. I saw him scared. I felt him scared.
Remember he said, oh God, I gotta start taking better care of my health. He didn't want to worry his mother, you know?
Mamula, how are you? I miss you. Have been going non-stop in a way since I left for Dubai, so it's starting to catch up with me. Paris is beautiful as always, but I miss LA. Paris is pretty, but it is not home. Antosha.
He was sometimes so tired fighting it that he probably was skipping breathing exercises and stuff and ended up being in a hospital.
That's when it really hit me, and my friend could, you know, he's not meant for this earth as long as, you know, what they deem the normal life expectancy is.
I don't know. I feel like sometimes I feel like maybe he knew. He's just pushing, finding, exploring. There's a lot of courage and bravery, and which he didn't really see, I don't think, in himself. But from an outside perspective, was so clear is that he just, you know.
It just occurred to me there was this scene that we shot in London, was this kind of breakup scene where he was about to come back to the States and she was staying there, and I wanted to set it in a cemetery. So we were walking around the cemetery and we were having this conversation, we were doing the scene, and then in the middle of the scene, Anton was just like, I don't want to be here.
I don't know, I don't like walking on people's graves.
You're not walking on people's graves.
We are.
This is the bit in between the graves.
No, I don't like this, I don't like this.
And Felicity's trying to do the scene in the scene, and we're shooting, and she's like, oh no, let's stay, let's talk, let's sit down. And he's like, no, I gotta go, I gotta go.
This is freaking me out.
Really? Why?
I don't know.
I forgot about it. And then after watching it, I was like, oh my God, he was so in tune to this frequency. He had this radar for energy and for feeling and stuff. And he was just in touch with that side of the universe in a way.
He was getting very worried about himself because he started reading blogs, CF blogs. He started reading other people with CF and felt very disturbed.
Hi, Mary. I've been feeling up and down. Increased airway clearance right now to 4 times a day. My folks have been doing the percussion on my side and my back 1 to 2 times a day. I've been exercising a minimum of 45 minutes a day. Gotta get it into this idiot brain of mine that I have to fight this thing. Had a really heavy feeling night a few days back where I looked up CF on Instagram and I saw all the kids that are fighting so hard and proud to do it, calling themselves fighters. And I was really moved. I've always wanted to shy away from feeling proud that I fight this thing all the time, so I've avoided fighting it. But I gotta be proud, and I gotta tell myself that most people never have to deal with this sort of stuff, and I should be proud of myself that I man up and do, as long as I actually man up and do. And if I don't, that's a crime against the potentiality and against all those that do. Anyway, ranting. Thank you again for all your help. Speak soon, Anton.
You know, on the back of the hat, it was these words, incurable, life-threatening disease. I was worried for him every single minute. And I felt so bad for him that he had to do all this. Why my son has to do it? And then he would look at me and he'd say, Mamula, please do not worry. It's okay, I can handle it, trust me.
And we said, you know, these are the 3 things that I want to concentrate for this week. And when I came back, he goes, I did 1, 2, and 3, and I thought I'd do number 4 just because I thought it would be good. And you could see his sense of pride and his sense of, oh my gosh, I've got this under control.
When we were filming, I remember thinking to myself, you know, this feels like a slightly different Anton than I've hung out with before.
You know, the mind forgets things for a reason.
I remember Dinklage coming to me and just being like, whoa, you know? You're sitting opposite that and you can feel the intensity off of Anton in those scenes. But as soon as I yelled cut, it was just like this cloak lifted off of him and it was back to laughing Anton.
How friggin' cool is that? Oh my god, oh my god, oh my god. Go, dude, you know what this means, right? You have a sacred responsibility here. That's what they said. You have to use these new powers.
The sense that you got from Anton was intensity, intelligence, and at the same time you had the sense that he was living. You knew he was an artist, you know?
Do you like watching yourself on screen?
I don't like watching myself on screen at all, but I do like watching the film.
Yeah.
I wish I was at a place where I could be so enlightened that I could just say, well, the experience was all that matters.
And I can bring both you and Ian. So if you want to come, I have a ticket for you, but I need your passport info today. Let me know.
He'd been working so much that last year and been just battling and just dealing with so much stuff. And so Ryan, him, and myself go on a trip together to London. It was like the first time in a really long time I felt like we were just kids.
Being at the National Gallery, and he stood in front of this painting. Anton wouldn't move. Ian and I walked around like 3 more rooms, came back 20 minutes later, and he's still staring at this painting.
We were having these really heavy conversations about cystic fibrosis and his disease, and he definitely was at a point in his life that he wanted to find a way to talk about it. This could inspire people that are going through it to know that, you know, you're able to live a life and you deserve to be able to do whatever you want to do and accomplish whatever goals you want to accomplish.
Thanks for coming. Yeah, officially this meeting. Thanks for coming in.
I'll keep the...
Yeah.
I'll keep it.
Yeah.
He was getting ready to make his first real film, his real directorial debut. He had every shot written out and planned to a T.
I went through all the sort of behind-the-scenes pictures, and so many of them are Anton hovering over the DP's shoulder, you know, asking about the camera. He was writing down the model number and everything. He said, that's what I'm gonna shoot my film on, that's what I'm gonna shoot my film on.
He said, director is more important, Mamuli. I'm gonna shoot. I will direct. I will, because director does everything.
in which we explore these ideas of the existential nature of our existence as human beings on this earth. And it should provide questions and speculation and never mythologize and offer answers. I feel like if I'm going to make movies, I want them, at least right now, I want them to move in that direction.
He got the call saying, we got the money, we're going to shoot this thing. And his dreams were coming true, you know?
Next tonight, here to the stunning death in Hollywood, a young actor, a rising star, known for his work on Star Trek. He was killed trapped between his SUV and his driveway gate, and it turns out his Jeep is one of hundreds of thousands included in a recall.
Police are saying it appears to be a freak accident that killed the 27-year-old actor after friends found him pinned between his 2015 Jeep Grand Cherokee and a fence at his home.
Here's a guy who struggled with his lungs for as long as I knew him. And he's pinned so he can't breathe. Like, out of all fucking things, out of all fucking things, that's it? And you go to the house and you look at the gate and you're like, this little thing right here caught the last moments of my friend, this little spot in the universe.
It was like something out of a bad horror movie, you know, the kind of the random events that had to occur for this to happen were just cataclysmically unfair, you know.
I kept saying this better be some kind of sick fucking joke, and I swear to God, the person that is doing this, I'm going to beat the ever-living shit out of them because this is not funny. You can't take away him from us. You can't take him away from me, and you can't fucking do this.
Don't want him ever to be forgotten.
Our dear, dear son, we wish you all the best life in this. All your hopes, dreams, wishes, praise will come true. Absolutely for sure. Because you deserve it.
I've never, I mean, everybody loves their children, but I don't think anybody really loved their child like they loved Anton.
And I hope we will see him soon. It's what I'm trying to tell Irina all the time. Listen, one day behind us, one day we're closer to Antosha.
Victor said to me, let's pretend Anton went for a long, long shoot. He just went to shoot movie. And I said, I can't pretend like this, Victor, because he would call a million times. It would be not true.
Мамуля, с днем рождения, любимая моя. Дорогая моя, тебя обожаю, чтобы ты была здорова. Well, mommy, I played the blues for you. Mom, baby, just like I used to. It's a long time coming, but it's finally here. Mom, baby, won't you hear? Mommy, I played the blues for you. Well, mommy, I played the blues for you.
the sun shines.